Main drum kemana berapa? Main drum lawan main drum. Karena kita sama masih mampu bisa main drum juga. Ah, gaya nilai kawapan dia tak main drumเลยmain drum malah. main rumah kita yang apa ya untuk bos bos main tuh tidak untuk segala
Mbak Iva,
Sore Mbak Andini.
Iya, Bu.
Ya, actually I belong to this group because from the screen I see that this is room one, but actually from the program book, I will be in room six.
Oke, you just go back to the main room. Nanti di sana
Mm-mm.
ada admin yang ngarahin ke breakout room 6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually
this is case.
I just invited, okay, to join this group, but when I see the screen, this is room one.
It's okay, balik
Ya,
ke
di sini.
main room lagi.
Iya, saya juga gitu, Mbak. Saya sebenarnya udah presentasi tadi pagi, tapi
Hmm.
diundang ke sini.
Mungkin dari adminnya salah ngundang.
Ya,
Pak
nggak
dan
apa-apa
Bu.
ya.
Ya,
Oke,
boleh balik
jadi
ke
Mbak
main room.
Andini saya ini ya
Ya,
ke room 6 saja ya.
Oh ya, silahkan.
Oke, thank you Mbak
Ya,
Andini.
ya,
ya,
sama-sama.
izin live ya.
Ya.
Iya.
Semangat presentasinya.
Oke. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to second parallel session with me, Andini Dwi Iradati, and I will be the moderator and the timekeeper for the session, okay? And ladies and gentlemen, the presentation is about to begin. There will be 5 presenters today in this room, and each presenter will be allocated 10 minutes to present the papers, and I will remind you when it is already 8 minutes. After all presenters present their papers, I will lead you to the question and answer session. Okay, without any further ado, I call upon the first presenter to present the paper, Ms. Nuzulia Nur Farida. Are you there?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yes, Miss, the time is yours.
I'm sorry that I think you have not share or turning on the sharing screen.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that you haven't turned on the share screen option because I cannot share my screen.
Yes, it means the presenter are not allowed to share their screen, so it must be handled by the committee, I think. But Nuzilia.
Yes, because I am the first presenter, ma'am.
Yes. It
Yes.
seems also the same thing with I'll try also.
Okay, yes,
Yes.
it's ready. Okay, is it visible?
Yes, clearly.
Okay. Okay, and first of all, I would like to say thanks to the moderator and all the participants here, who are the speakers and also the participants, and uh, this wonderful afternoon, in this wonderful day. I'd like to present my research, in which this research is my research that has been done in 2019 when I was undergraduate program students. And the research is about the early childhood teachers teaching phonics strategies and their reported beliefs to assist the early years students in acquiring English alphabet knowledge as a foreign language. And this study is being done in a case study to the English Young Learners Educations. And for the writers, that there are me as the first author and also my supervisor, Pasca Kalisa. Okay. And here is about the list of what I'm going to present. Okay. For the background of the study, so teaching English as a foreign language to the early young students or young learner students has been occurred for a long time in many countries, but despite of these efforts, most of Indonesian students are still far than successful, whether it is in a spoken or written English. And Emery emphasizes that some issues related to those problems that occurred because of the first, there's insufficient teaching preparations, and the second is lack of training, in which teachers' inabilities to deal with the challenges, and also inadequate knowledge. Teachers has poor language ability, especially in English context, English teaching context. And the fourth is teachers whose no English subject area are being hired in the lesson. And the most problems that Emery emphasized is that first children lack experiences in English because of they don't be taught early literacy foundations such as alphabetic principles and how to blend the sounds to form new words. My research comes as my representations or my experience when I was in an elementary student, and I had English as my subject lesson. Based on my experience, I see that my teachers only teach me how to memorize the words instead of how to pronounce it perfectly, and how that the letters being the blend of the letters perform new words. And the previous study has been conducted by several researchers. The first is Campbell, Thor, and Cologan in the 2019. He analyzed the teachers teaching alphabet strategies in the prior to school students, and he found that the strategies include the Jolly Phonics, the Letterland, ants, apples, and the ABCs were being used in 36 of the early childhood in Australia setting surveyed. And they also analyzed the beliefs that the reasons found were pragmatic rather than pedagogical. And also, the Ariani conducted study in the Bali. She showed that Jolly Phonics as an effective strategy for enhancing children's literacy. she discovers that there are amount of time spent and varied in phonics instruction used in teaching English for young learners. And also the studies from Karim Kanloy and Sevinia, they investigate the effectiveness of Jolly Phonics and also the traditional approach used by the teachers in teaching alphabetic knowledge to the early young learners. And the reasons for choosing the topic is the first, based on the preliminary study, there are over debates provoking patience and arguments among researchers and educators about the strategies that should be used to teach phonics to the young learner students. Limited research evaluate the teaching phonics strategies and teachers' beliefs in which English is used as a foreign language. And it is. Thus, it is important for the university and the college or educators to consider the preschool teacher's perspective, what is needed to imply to raise the quality of their teaching, especially to teaching English literacy for young learners. Okay, that is the theoretical background. The theoretical background comes first in the phonics and phonics instructions. That is based on the Moro and Tracy. Phonics is a method that is used to teach people to read by decoding and also correcting sounds with an alphabetic writing system. Also, now, why teaching alphabetic principles for beginners English learners are considered important? Because the first, it is the foundations of reading and spelling. Understanding the sounds allows students to decode and also encode the words accurately. It also supports students in the word recognitions because they will have the tools to read and spell unfamiliar word instead of guessing or memorizing it. It also connects the spoken and written language. The alphabetic principles or knowledge help students bridge the gap between what we say between the oral language and also what we
2
read
minutes
or
more, ma'am.
language. Okay. Okay. Yes, there are two synthetic phonics approach that is begins with explicit teaching structure, like what we found in Jolly Phonics program. This is a commercial phonics program. It's a structured curricula for teaching. It is often based on a systematic explicit approach, and the examples in Jolly Phonics and also Letterlands, and also play-based literacy in prior to school. So Johnston categorized different models of play. That is, play-based literacy in prior to school is teaching alphabetic knowledge to their young learners integrated into play system. And the result is, okay, I conducted in a two-phase mixed method. The first is quantitative. I am using the 5-point Likert scales that is exploring about the teacher strategies and also beliefs and also interviewing the participants. Okay, and then next for the results. From the data analysis, it is found that wait 1 minute. Okay, from the data analysis, it is found that the mean score of teaching practices in explicit structure programs in scales of 3 and 10 agree and also 3 and 8 agree. It means that the teachers in this case are using explicit structure phonics to teach English learners. And then the second is that the teachers also integrate the play-based literacy in their teaching strategies.
The
But
time is
okay,
over, ma'am.
is it over?
Yes.
Oh, okay, is it over? May I add some in the conclusion?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So, and the conclusion is teachers in that case primarily use commercial phonics program as their main teaching resources, but they are still supported play-based activities. Teachers follow structure, curriculum-based approach to the phonics, incorporating models like the model by Johnson, and that the teachers adapt the program based on understanding of what was suitable for the children. The key belief is the play is still essential for children's development and should be integrated into the teaching curriculum. And the teacher emphasized that phonics instruction should be individualized, although they cannot give a strong evidence based on the pedagogical series linking systematic explicit phonics teaching to significant literacy development for children. And the last is teachers seem unclear or incapable to state the concept of phonics and also the phonemics and for the phonological awareness and how these concepts support in children's literacy growth. Yeah, in this study, it is important for English teachers to understand, to master phonics instructions to teach English to the young learner students, and it is important as well to in education college has to prioritize phonics training in their curriculum. This includes teaching students about significance of early literacy skills such as alphabetic knowledge and letter sound relationship. Okay, I think that's all from my research. Thank you for the moderators. Times and place is yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for Miss Nuzulia Nur Farida for the presentation. And now I call upon the next presenters, Miss Maulida Laili Kusumawati.
Yes,
The
I'm
time is
ready.
yours.
Okay. Okay. Have you seen my PPT?
Yes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I invite you to participate in watching my presentation entitled Local Wisdom Values in the Poems Collection of Ayat Sunyi by Emisui as Strengthening Children Character Education in Indonesia. Abstract. This study explored the role of poetry, particularly Emisui Ayat Sunyi, in preserving local wisdom values to strengthen children character education in Indonesia. Using a literary sociology approach, it identifies values such as cooperation, tolerance, honesty, justice, wisdom, harmony with nature, and religiosity as essential in shaping a generation with strong cultural identity. Introduction. My background, character education in Indonesia face serious challenge due to globalization and Western cultural influence, leading to the decline of local wisdom values. Poetry as a literary work serves as an effective medium to convey moral and cultural values. Emisui Poetry collection Ayat Sunyi reflect values of simplicity, cooperation, resilience, religiosity, harmony with nature, and respect for women. These values align with the goals of the 2013 curriculum and the Pancasila student profile in strengthening character education. And research objective to analyze the local wisdom values in Emisui Ayat Sunyi to explore their relevance to strengthening children character education in Indonesia. Next, research gap. Previous studies, many studies focus on character education and literature, yet most emphasizes linguistic aspect or general moral values. Next, previous research on Emisui poetry mainly examine language style, symbolism, or maternal themes. Identified gap. One, limited research directly connects local wisdom values in Emisui poetry with children character education. Few studies address poetry as a strategic medium to counter cultural erosion caused by globalization. The study fills the gap by employing a sociological approach to literature linking the text, social culture, context, and implication for character education. Methods, research approach, qualitative research with sociological literary approach. Next, theory, Ian Watts, Sociology of Literature, research data, Ayat Sunyi Poetry Collection 2018, and interviews with Emisui. Data collection and data analysis, hermeneutic reading to reveal hidden meanings and moral values. Next, research finding the role of poetry in character education. This visualization of the research finding in the form of a present text picture, illustrating the four main focus of the analysis in Emisui poetry collection Ayat Sunyi. Next, research finding 2.1, representation of local wisdom in Ayat Sunyi. Poems highlight values of simplicity, mutual cooperation, perseverance, religiosity, and harmony with nature. Use of symbol and metaphor, Dewi Sri, fertility, spirituality, balance of life. The woman, resiliency, wisdom, cultural guardianship. The woman who plans, religiosity, perseverance, moral strength. Next, research finding 2, role of women in cultural preservation. Women are depicted as custodians of agrarian tradition and cultural values. Symbols such as konde or hairband, seats, and prayer represent dignity, resilience, and continuity of tradition. Emphasis, gender equality, and emancipation aligning with Kartini spirit. Next, 3, relevance to character education. Poem serves as a medium for instilling character values in children. Next, values reflected integrity, empathy, responsibility, respect for tradition, and environmental awareness. Aligned with the 2013 curriculum and Pancasila student profile, mutual cooperation, cultural pride, religiosity. And 4, strategic contribution of poetry. Poetry is not only artistic but also educational and transformative, provides a cultural counterbalance to globalization, materialism, and Western lifestyle. Strengthen national identity and fosters pride in local wisdom among the young generation. Significant of this study, the findings of this study reaffirm the significant role of literature, particularly poetry, in shaping student character through the integration of local wisdom values. By analyzing Emisui, Ayat Sunyi, the research demonstrate how symbols such as Dewi Sri, agrarian metaphor, and woman roles reflect values of simplicity, cooperation, perseverance, and spirituality. This finding highlights that poetry is not only a medium of aesthetic expression, but also a transformative educational tool that strengthens cultural identity and moral awareness among the younger generation. This contribution aligns with the objective of the ELTLT International Conference, which seeks to provide a forum for discussion, innovative approach, interdisciplinary insight, and practical solution in the field of language, literature, and education. Conclusion, the study concludes that Emisui, Ayat Sunyi embodies local wisdom values such as simplicity, cooperation, perseverance, religiosity, and respect for nature and women. These values serve not only as a reflection of Javanese agrarian culture, but also a foundation for strengthening character education among the younger generation. Poetry does function beyond its aesthetic purpose, becoming a transformative educational medium that reinforces cultural identity, and moral awareness. Therefore, the integration of literature into character education is a strategic step to address the challenge of globalization while preserving Indonesia culture heritage. Thank you to all who have attention. Your gratitude goes to everyone present here today. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. That's all, Miss Maulida. Okay, thank you so much, Miss Maulida Laili Kusumawati, for the presentation. And now I call upon the next presenter, Miss Litani Ika Budiarti.
Yes.
The
Okay.
time is yours.
Am I audible enough?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the chance. Well, first of all, I would like to say sorry. I don't know why I started my video, but I cannot see myself there. Only the background. So yeah, just let it be like that. So I'll start the screen sharing. Okay, can you see my PPT now? All right. So this is the topic I'm having. The title is Navigating Uncertainty, Challenges of Teacher Professional Development for EYL in Indonesia. Right. So this is my background of the study. So actually this paper came into being as one of my reflection. I've been like teaching EYL for some time now, and I see this kind of a little bit problem in here. So I decided to write this paper. This is the introduction. So this is kind of the background. We have 3 points in here. The first one is the inconsistent stakeholder priorities and agendas. The second one is the fragmented access to resources. And the last one is shifting social and cultural dynamics in education. So for the first one, diverging stakeholder priorities create confusion for teachers as they face conflicting expectations on what professional development should achieve. So to begin with, even without the policy gaps, different stakeholders such as the local education offices and school leaders, NGOs sometimes, and even the community leaders, they often have divergent goals and definition of what effective professional development looks like. For example, one might prioritize digital skill while other focuses on the religious instruction or local wisdom when it comes to like a private school that certainly direct into some kind of that kind of thing. And then this competing expectation lead to uncertainty for teachers who are still unsure which direction to follow or invest in, especially when resources are limited. And the second one, we have the fragmented access to resources and infrastructure. While unreliable access to basic infrastructure like internet, electricity, and materials disrupts the consistency and the effectiveness of TPD efforts. Beyond policies and preparation, of course, the simple geographic and infrastructural reality in area like EYL, usually in the remote, specifically or underdeveloped region, creates uncertainty. For instance, a TPD program may be well designed, like the government already created it, but then assumes the reliable internet, stable electricity, or access to the learning materials. It can be inconsistently available, making the teachers wonder whether the training will be held or not, or will the materials arrive, will the platform work, and there are a lot of questions about this kind of fragmented access to resources. And the last one, we have this one, the shifting social and cultural dynamics in education. The rapid shift in local social and cultural dynamics outpace the training content, leaving teachers unprepared for real classroom challenges. So as we know that education doesn't exist in a vacuum, teachers operate in a socially dynamic environment where community values and the parental expectation and student behavior are evolving rapidly, especially because of the technology, the exposure of the global culture, and there are a lot of things that going on in our world that it works so fast. Now, this may cause a misalignment between the training content and the daily realities, forcing the teachers to constantly adapt in untrained ways, as like the first speaker already addressed before. One of the problems when teaching the phonics is sometimes that the teacher do not really know what is the material about. So that is a part of the teacher professional development. And then this is my data collection. I'm basically doing this as an SLR studies, systematic literature review. So the search strategy across Scopus, Google Scholar, and ERIC within the time frame of 2018 2016 until 2025 to align with major educational reforms in Indonesia, especially after the COVID also. And the focus on the studies on the teacher professional development or TPD for EYL. And it's excluded prior study to 2016 due to outdated curricular relevance. And then this is the selection criteria for my study. It must focus on TPD practices for EYL and especially Indonesian elementary school. It is empirical research only. And as I told you before, between 2016 until 2025 time frame, and it's written in English with full text accessible, of course. And then it must report classroom level instruction practices because through this instruction practices, we can know the teacher's professional. Okay, so this is the challenges and the barriers and the policy gaps and also the effectiveness of TPD programs that I address as the problem. What are the key challenges EYL teachers face in accessing or engaging with formal TPD programs in Indonesia during the last decade period? What gaps exist in national policies regarding formal TPD for EYL teachers, and how effective have formal TPD initiative been improving the skills and practices of EYL teachers? And this is the analysis and the synthesis. I'm using the Prisma framework, of course, because this is an SLR. And then I applied thematic coding to identify the key pattern to ensure the transparency and focus on the contextual challenges and innovation. And this is some of the result. Actually, I'm sorry, it's too small, but don't worry. I'm going to, this one. This is the distribution trends between the last 10 decades. You can see from 2016 until 2018, we have policy focused studies highlighting fragmentation and inequality. And then from 19 to 20, we have emerging concern about pedagogical mismatch and preparation gaps. And 2020 until 2021, of course, we have the pandemic-driven research on digital literacy and identity. And then 2022 and 2023, innovation in project-based learning, technological integration, reflective practice. And then the last one, we have the debates on equity, gender, and structural barriers in the professionalization. And then this is the thematic findings I found on this paper. We have some points here. The first one is policy and curriculum gaps, as I told you before. That's the background, but also the findings. So we found that the policy flexibility usually followed by the lack of EYL training. The curriculum ambiguity burdens the teacher. Like we know now that the government decided to reintroduce English in the primary once again when they actually kind of taken it back a year before, like a few years back, but now suddenly they want to reintroduce it now again. So it's kind of ambiguity that causing a lot of confusion, and especially because mainly in Indonesia, the teacher that having the TPD is not they are not using the EYL method, but they are actually for the usually for the students in junior or high or senior high school. And then we have this one, the pedagogical competence, where secondary level ELT methods dominate, isolated success in lesson study and project-based learning, but once again, it's isolated, so not in all places. And then we have technology integration and digital competence, where COVID-19 revealed how low digital readiness for us. The tech integration improves PD, but remains uneven across the regions. And then we have the teacher identity. Oh, yes, okay. I will make it faster. This one, well, this is the thematic findings in most of those papers, and this is the key challenges that we are facing right now. Policy practice disconnect, of course, pedagogical misalignment, digital divide in TPD, and this is some of the critical insight. The teacher identity and agency, again, equity gaps, and this is the most important one, call for holistic TPD reform. We need this soon. The policy clarity, of course, the scalable pedagogical support, the digital access equity, and the identity-driven video frameworks. And this is the conclusion. We have to work with all of these things. Systematic change means sustainable impact, which means that we have to soon, probably to the point that make a formal request to the government to facilitate us in how we should teach the young learner without depending on, just the TPD that is actually designed for adult learner. That is where the mismatch happen a lot. Okay, so I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Litani Ika Budiarti, for the presentation. And now, I call upon the next presenter, Ms. Yulinda Pramudanti.
Yes, thank you so much, Kak Ardini. Allow me to share the screen first.
Okay, the time is yours.
Okay, is it visible now? Okay. Let me start. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome you all to this session. My name is Yulinda Pramudanti, and I will be moderating as well as co-presenting today together with my colleague, Indrat Wasyati Ningsi. So we are very excited to share our article with you entitled Turn-Taking Patterns in Online English Lessons for Young Learners in IRF-Based Discourse Analysis. To begin, let me invite my partner to present the background of our research. Indra, time is yours.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jolie. And now I will explain about the background of the study. And now I have several key points about background of the study. The first one is oral interaction helps students practice real-life communications and build a speaking and listening skill, because the oral interaction is the most important part of language learning, because it allows students to use the target of language in real and meaningful situation instead of only memorizing the grammar rules. So through direct communication, they practice speaking and listening skills that reflects everyday language use and create a mutual understanding, negotiate meaning, and play an active role in the learning process. And then turn-taking keeps the class organized and give everyone a fair chance to talk. So turn-taking is a regular mechanism in classroom interaction that regulates who speaks, when, and how speaking turns are divided. And it is essential for maintaining orderly communication and fair participation between teachers and students. So the turn-taking also shape classroom dynamics, power relations, and also students' engagement. And then the IRF model or initiates and students interact. The IRF pattern, initiation, response, feedback by Sinclair and Coulthard, is widely used in educational discourse analysis because it consists of 3 stages. The teachers initiates with questions or instruction, and the student respond, and the teacher evaluates, develop, and redirect to response. And these patterns not only show how knowledge is transmitted, but also reveals how much opportunities students have to participate meaningfully in classroom conversation. And also online classes change interaction because of mute buttons, chat box, fewer nonverbal cues, and technical problems. The shift to synchronous online learnings, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, has significantly changed interaction patterns. So features such as mute microphones, chat box, and the absence of physical cues disrupt the normal flow of turn-taking. So the technical constraints such as unstable internet connection and audio delays also complicate smooth transition between speakers. And also young learners need clear guidance and more support in online setting. This challenge is especially evident for elementary schools who still need a clear guidance and structured interaction supports. So at this development stage, they are still building social and linguistic competence, making online turn-taking harder for them. So the teachers therefore all need deliberate design pedagogical strategies to maintain active participation and facilitate meaningful interaction. So after I explain the background of the study, this study looks at IRF patterns and how teachers manage turn-taking in online English classes for kids. because this framework or initiation response feedback has been used to analyze face-to-face discourse at the higher levels, and its application in online classroom for children is still limited. So this study focused on how IRF patterns emerge in synchronous online learning, identifies how teachers manage and regulate turn taking. So by analyzing these patterns, this study seeks to reveal structure and strategies that shape classroom discourse and to help make online learning for children more interactive and effective. So that's all about background of the study. And then about literature review, I'll give feedback to Miss Yolinda.
That is in our review. Okay, so basically in the IRF model, which stands for initiation, response, and feedback, has been widely used to analyze classroom discourse, as explained by Sinclair here, and also called Hart in 1975, and later by Estaji and also Shokjan Halu in 2022. For young learners, teacher often needs to provide scaffolding and also repetition so that the RF circle can run effectively. And also this was highlighted by Septiani and also Rahman in their article in 2021, and also from the article Andini in 2021. In contrast, in online learning, turn taking becomes more difficult because of the lack of nonverbal cues, and also because of technical issues such as unstable internet and audio delays, as found as the article published by Earnshaw in 2017 and also Matilla in 2022. And finally, most previous studies have focused on adults, not on the children. And this leaves a research gap, especially in understanding how IRF and turn taking works in synchronous online classes for elementary school learners, as pointed out by Zala and the colleagues 2022. Let's moving on to the methodology. So basically, this study applied descriptive qualitative design with classroom discourse analysis as suggested by Craswell, 2023. And it was conducted as a case study of a recorded Zoom lesson, lasting about 15 minutes something, and focusing on the IRF-based interaction patterns in online teaching for young learners. And also the participants were one English teacher and 10 fifth grade students. And the main was the entire lesson of English, and this transcript capturing all spoken interaction. And the lesson itself included vocabulary activities and question and answer session, and also the short discussion. Again, for the data collection, the researchers, we only observed and recorded without any interference, and afterwards the transcript was analyzed by categorizing exchanges into initiation and then response and also feedback, and we identified both complete and also partial IRF circles. Regarding the ethics, yes, okay. The teacher consent was obtained before recording students' identities were anonymous to protect privacy. And also triangulation was applied also by comparing the video, transcript, and field notes to ensure the credibility and also validity of the findings. Okay, with that in mind, let me hand over again to Endrat, who will take you through the findings and discussion. Okay.
All right, thank you. So, by synthesizing this study, this research can answer the research question about what are the IRF turn-taking patterns in online English lesson for young learners, and how does the teachers manage turn-taking in online English lesson for young learners. And as you can see on the screen in the right side, this is the bar chart of the findings IRF taking and teacher strategies. So the response is dominant with the 44%, and then the initiation is 25%, and then feedback is 15%, and initiation plus feedback is 16%. And this is the teacher strategies. The teacher use the IRF pattern and then calling students' names before asking questions. Verbal and non-verbal cues, have the alternative channel, and then distribution of turns. Next. And this is the discussion section. This is related with the literature review. As you can see on the screen, I have several points. I have dominance, limited feedback, and so on. Next. And this is also the discussion for research question 2. They use IF pattern, calling student names, and verbal and non-verbal cues. Next. Okay, and then they also are handling silence and overlaps using the chat box, sharing turns fairly. And for combining these methods, help students run online classes smoothly, support young learners, and deal with online challenge. That's all for me. I give it back to Miss Yoli.
The time is over. Yes. Can you go to the conclusion?
Yes. Okay, that brings us to the end of the presentation. To wrap up, our study shows that while the IRF model continues to structure classroom talk and online lesson for young learners, its cycles are often fragmented. So on behalf of my colleague and myself, I'd like to sincerely thank you for your attention and interest in our work. Yes, thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for Miss Yolinda Pramudanti for the presentation. And now I call upon the next presenter, Miss Muhimatul Ifadah.
Yes, thank you.
The time is yours.
So let me share my screen. Okay, thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. It's nice to see you. Thank you so much for having your time to listen to my story, my description about, well, actually, as a lecturer, we met several things in our practicing field. So, let me start by the story that how in daily life of a lecturer, the main concentration is how trying to bring our students to improve their competence, whatever it takes. So I'd start by the existing phenomena that in this course, of course, the students were not getting used to doing reflection for their own learning. And then the students were not really enforced, not really being conditioned to be aware of their strengths and weaknesses. And also that the duration, the time-consuming, process, will be always the obstacle in the process of teaching and learning. So I think that maybe all lecturers have the same consideration when talking about the how we try to guidance, how we try to guide, the process of learning through the assessment, because the issue is about the assessment. So in this, in this course, that in readings, that what is the obstacle actually and what is the learning purposes? So it takes about how that the last preference in reading as an individual habit, especially in academic context. So whenever we give them assignment to read, means that it is assignment, not actually as embedded in their package as scholars or students or whatever. And the strategies in reading are considered to be boring and no updating methods. So some of them say that it is easy to guess that the lecturer will ask the student to read some text to find the meaning, to find out the dictionary, and also how in general they have conclusion from the text. And not many students are really concerned about the benefit in their real life needs. In long-term learning, it's said in many curriculum that what have been learned in educational setting should be give benefit in real life situation. That's why it should be have a connection. It should relate with the contextualize. So in the previous presentation, I think Ibu Endrat and Bu Yulida is trying to tell us that the interaction through the online is brought to help them how the connection between the student and the lecturer into more real. I think I got this message. And however, the students were giving assignment to write their personal reflection for the meetings in the course, and then their journal should reflect how the reading target that should be acquired, and do they think that they achieve the certain stages. So it enabled the student to do reflection, to describe, to take up their strengths, their weaknesses during the course, and then help them to, help them to describe what kind of reading target that already being mastered, and what kind of strategy, what kind of step that should be done by them to improve that competence. And what did they say? Actually, the first one is that they say that it is difficult to explore the perception dealing with the process of learning, as they learn that the journal will be given feedback and it affects their final score at the end of the course. So they are getting more worried about the final score rather than the process or the learning purpose. And the main anxiety was about how to be compared by others and being discussed in front of classmates. So whenever one student being giving feedback in front of the class, and then let's say example that Ifa and Afi, for example, you try to this and those. So both of them, not all students will be convenient if the feedback is given in the open space in front of the class. And their main concern was about non-academic factors rather than the reading comprehension indicator or parameter. So their concern is on the how I will be being evaluated, I will be assessed in this class. And to be accustomed to the reflective journal benefit, they need to get trust from the lecturer and their classmates, since the flaw should be acknowledged as common sense. So means that when I have flaws, so my friends should also have flaws, that it should be fair, delivered by the lecturer in front of the classroom. So it helped me to be more convenient that I joined this class, because I know that all my mates also have the same competence. It is just not me who only have their flaws. So what I learned from this study is that my reflections say that maintaining student-lecturers relationship is significant to build classroom interactions. It support the learning purposes that having rapid or good relationship with student will actually yes, is non-academic factor that become the main concern from the lecturers. And the time-consuming consequences should be interpreted as a bridge to achieve long-term benefit in the learning process. And it should be, we need to remember that the learning benefit may impact not in our course, but maybe in another courses. For example, that maybe the reading course, what I mean, the best practice or the lesson learned in reading class may have impact on writing class, in listening class, that become, what is that, embedded in a personal and personal learning. So I think as a lecturer, I need to see that the benefit, the advantage of learnings in our classroom should not only as a single part of our learning purpose, but also we need to see in comprehensive way how it have benefit to other courses. That's all. Thank you for Bapak and Ibu. Hopefully, it doesn't bother you. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Miss
Thank
Muhimmatul
you.
Ifadah for the presentation. And I apologize in advance because the fifth plenary has been started. So we will not have the question and answer session for this session, okay? And before we end the session, I will remind all presenters here to fill out the attendance link that will be shared on the main room at the end of the plenary. So yeah, I am Andini Dwiradati. Just goodbye and thanks a lot to our presenters today and participants. You can leave this breakout room right now and go back to the main room. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi. Thank you.
Thank you.